Hey everybody, this is Brant from Nutrition First Coaching, and in today's video, we're going to wrap up our education component with a few terms related to hormones and body function, as well as what happens when we eat things such as glycemic index and load, and then finish it off with a few little things relevant to lifting weights, but also weighing and measuring foods. So let's talk about some common terminology here. Let's make sure we all know the definition so we can communicate with each other correctly and efficiently, and we can spread the knowledge to everyone. Let's get into the video. You think you know about your body, part 3 and last part. Let's talk a little bit about wrapping up vitamins and minerals, as well as kind of what hormones do and then how blood sugar reacts in our body. So let's define vitamin. This is what our cells need to grow, develop, function. Everybody knows, hey, get more vitamin D because that's what you get in sunlight, and our body converts that into vitamin D. So yeah, there's fat soluble ones, there's water soluble ones, the fat soluble ones, A, D, E, and K. We can store in our tissues so we can go for longer periods without them. But everybody tends to be a little deficient depending on the season in some of these key vitamins. The big thing is they have to come together. And that's why whole foods are so important, because we're going to get these vitamins, but we're going to get the supporting vitamins, phytonutrients and chemicals and everything we need to help our bodies digest these things and utilize them. You know, there's studies that say you can take synthetic vitamin D and you're going to process 10% of it. But if you get out in the sunlight for 30 minutes, lots of skin exposed, depending on your kind of natural skin tone, you can get upwards of 15 times the amount of vitamin C you're going to get at a supplementation. So our bodies know what they're doing. Foods are there for a reason. Try not to break everything down into these little micronutrient type of things, but for terminology wise, that's our vitamins. Get into our minerals. Now these are basically carbonless substances. There's a lot of minerals out there we need. Typically they're all in pretty trace amounts. We usually get them out of our food because they're pulled out of the soil when things are grown, things are eaten and digested. But we're starting to lack more and more of these. You know, some of the main ones getting into sodium, potassium, magnesium, calcium, zinc. You know, these guys are all really important and are usually active in lots and lots of processes in our bodies. The best thing I can tell you for vitamin minerals in general with you is get your blood work done, get full panels done. Those things will all be looked at. You'll get a range of vitamins and minerals that you should be in. Try to be in at least the middle. These ranges are pretty old and they're pretty broad. So if it says your vitamin D is 30 and you're great because you're in the range is like 30 to 100. So that goes from like qualifying into the range or the bare minimum to optimization, which is always going to make us probably function better. So next one is hormones. So hormones are chemical messengers. They get these chemicals, they go to certain cells and they bind to these cells and they receive these messages and they cause some kind of action to happen. You know, we think of hormones, we probably think of like testosterone and estrogen, male and female hormones. We all have some of each of those things that decline as we age, or things that can be exogenously taken in and kind of, you know, improve our performance. But the two I want to really focus on here are the hormones of storage, which are insulin, and then the hormones of mobilization of energy, which is glucagon. So our world is in serious trouble in terms of getting too much blood sugar and having to use too much insulin to pull that blood sugar out and put it into storage in the liver, into fat cells, hopefully, you know, into some muscle and not other organs. But when our body just can't do that anymore because we're taking in too much, we start to become less sensitive to insulin. We start to pull less blood sugar out. That starts to raise our blood sugar. We get these glycation end products. Things start to happen in our body that cause all kinds of problems. What do we see it as? We see it as type 2 diabetes. We see it as prediabetes or hyperinsulinemia, these problems become a cascade of things in our body that lead to really poor metabolic health and significant problems down the road if not corrected. This is where exercise comes in. This is where having muscle for metabolism comes in. This is where not eating for periods of time, and I'm not talking days, I'm talking 12 hours or 14 hours of not eating. Those little mini fasts are going to help our body regulate hormones and let them rest from all the digestion. But when we need energy and we're working hard at something, glucagon comes in and it helps mobilize out of our liver some glucose, turns it into energy, puts it in our bloodstream, gives us some energy. So these hormones need a balance to each other. And that's kind of when I look at the next part here. And so this is when we're talking about the glycemic index and the glycemic load of foods. So the glycemic index you may have heard before, and you'll see it referenced as GI next to something. Basically, a value is given to every carbohydrate-based source, and it goes from 0 to 100. 100 being table sugar, essentially, which is basically just glucose in the body immediately. And everything else gets a value in there. Now, a lot of foods get demonized because they may raise blood sugar a significant amount, and they may have a high GI value. So one of my favorite examples is, let's take a fruit like watermelon. It's good for you. It's a fruit. It's got a really high GI index of 80. So you think, wow, watermelon's bad for me. It's going to cause my blood sugar to go up, and I'll have to produce insulin, pull that out, and all these chemical cascades happen. But if we look at the glycemic load, this is how quickly it makes glucose enter the bloodstream. So when we look at how much it makes your blood sugar go up versus how quickly it makes glucose enter your bloodstream, and then how much glucose is actually delivered from the food, watermelon's actually pretty good for you because there's such little carbohydrate in it. Even if it's got a high GI value of 80, it's got a really low glycemic load. And this is what happens when we combine foods as well, because something may have a high GI value, but then if there's some fats and proteins in there, we're going to break it down slower, and so the overall glycemic load is going to be lower. These are both just tools. This isn't a way to design eating, but this is how to look at how things might happen and function in the body. And if you have some blood sugar regulations issues, you're pre-diabetic, maybe you're taking metformin or something, these are things to start really paying attention to of the foods you eat. Print out some of these lists. They're readily available on the internet, and you'll see those things and be able to kind of follow some of this stuff. So last thing to talk about, I just put down here in little writing, grams, kilograms, and ounces. I put these down here for two reasons. One, because in grams, we use this a lot when we're weighing and measuring food. We want to know how many grams of protein we're getting and how many grams of carbohydrates and fats. So you get your basic little food scale and click it on. It's going to give you units, it's going to give you grams, and it's going to give you ounces. So you can weigh things out and you can know how much you're getting, comparing it to labels, comparing it to how much protein you get out of something when you have X amount of grams of it. That's going to give you some idea of calories you're putting in, food quality, macronutrients. But I also put it down here too, because when we get into kilograms, now we're probably talking weightlifting. So another part of the program is going to be some strength training and resistance training. And in America, we're the only people that really use pounds. So a lot of times it's kilograms. So 1 kilogram or 1,000 grams is equal to 2.2 pounds. So if you ever watch weightlifting on TV, or something might be said, oh, that's 5 kilos, they're talking about 5 times 2.2. So now you're 11 pounds, if I did my math right. But that's kind of converting those kilograms into pounds for you there. So that's an easy way to think about that as well. And this kind of wraps up some of the terminology that I thought was really important going into any kind of program where you're trying to improve your health and your fitness. You want to have that common language. You want to be able to communicate efficiently. And that's really what I was going for in these videos. So I hope you got a little value out of them. If you did, like and subscribe to us, forward them to some friends or family members, or maybe somebody told you some random comment that you just learned was completely wrong. Forward it to them. Maybe they'll learn a little bit something from it. So let's spread the knowledge. Knowledge is power. And with education, we can drive compliance in what we're doing, And that's our goal here at Nutrition First Coaching. All right, have a great day. I'll talk to you soon.